clear?
समझ गया.
So yeah. But I will listen to this and I will zoom it probably. Is it better now? Yeah. Okay. So this happens to be the second in the series that I'm doing about the webinars about emotional intelligence. The aim is to create awareness about mental health and make it a normal talk. Like, you know how you would say that, "Arey, I got cold," or "I got fever." So it should be that normal to say that I have anxiety or I am going through depression or things like that, you know, like my amygdala is not functioning well. Today we are going to learn about amygdala. So amygdala should become like salt and sugar in your vocabulary. Like how often you talk about salt and sugar, that's the aim. So we have, I'll just minimize this, yeah. So what's the agenda for the day? Introduction of the speaker. Most of you know me, but I would like to tell you what I want you to know about me. What is in our brains? It is said that only 8% of our brains are used. So, but what is in it? Like, what's the brain anatomy? We are going to talk about that. Amygdala, prefrontal cortex. And then what is the connection between them? Like, should there be a connection? How strong should it be? How weak should it be? Then we will have tips and tricks. Like the second part of the session would be tips and tricks to make you do more, to achieve more, basically. Group activity, identifying the mental blocks, where we would discuss about one challenge that we are facing. Then we'll watch a movie. My aim is always my aim is to promote movies for emotional intelligence. It's easier to understand that way. Then we analyze the movie. And coaching with Vibha. So what I want to do when I become a coach, a little bit about that. Summarize and thank yous and feedback. So that's what it's going to be about. So let's first. My mental health journey started in the year 2010, 2011, when a family member was diagnosed with depression. And it was the first time for us. Like, you know, many diseases that we have, like cancer or paralysis or something like that, these are not common ailments. So this too was not common in our family. Like no one had it. So it started from there. And in my first session, I had spoken about caregiver and survivor. So survivor is someone who went through a mental ailment like depression, anxiety, or there are bipolar personality disorders. So all these things, and you came through this, like you fought and you came out of the situation. So then you are a caregiver. Sorry, you are a survivor. A caregiver is a person who has not went through any mental ailment, but they want to be supportive to their family members. So it's possible that, you know, a patient, I would not say a patient, but a person who's going through the situation, they would not look for solutions because they are already in a bad state. So we as family members, as friends, can be their caregiver. So that was the first webinar about, like, are you a caregiver? Are you a survivor? And the third option is a survivor turned into a caregiver. So I put myself in the third category. I didn't go through depression, but there was this phase where, you know, I wouldn't enjoy things. Like my sister would tell me, Didi, come play with me. And I would be like sulking and I would be like, no, I don't want to play. As if the whole world's problem is, you know, rested on my shoulders and I had to do everything. So there was this phase and then I realized that this is not normal. And I was very young. I was in school at that time. And I was like, this is not normal for a child to be so pensive, to be so deep into thoughts. But life went on. And then I went for therapy for CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, for a year. And after this, I see the transformation and the joy of life, or the excitement of life, is what I feel right now. Like for my birthdays, I mean, this is my birthday month. So for my birthdays or for anything that I do, there is always excitement. And I have become more creative after doing CBT. Like the mental blocks that I had were taken away, and the flow of creativity was so smooth. So now people often compliment also that, hey Vibha, you're so creative. I always say thanks to my therapist, she helped me with that. So that's about me. My therapist, her name is Dr. Nishreen Saif. So she had introduced this book to me, which is called Working with Emotional Intelligence. I started reading it in 2010, and I'm still reading it. Like, it's a very intense book, it's like a textbook. So I read a little bit of it. In that, 2013 is when I first came across this word amygdala. So what I understood at that time was like amygdala is somewhere in your brain, and it is responsible for your memories, for creating for memories, okay? And also it is the throne of emotions. All your emotions generate from this amygdala. I read it, and then it was there back of my mind, and I just let it be. When I did the course last month, emotional intelligence, again amygdala came up along with prefrontal cortex. Now being a coach, I had to explain the concept to people. So my concepts had to be clear. So I researched a lot about amygdala. Now the fun part about amygdala. Do you see this? Can you tell me what it is? Badam. Almond?
Almond.
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 Almond. This is the size of our amygdala. It is this big or this small, however you want to put it. So we are around 5 feet, and the amygdala is maybe 5 centimeter. Now, 5 centimeter controls 5 feet person. This powerful is amygdala. So, actually, I just thought of this. So if anybody says I'm small, just think of amygdala. Small doesn't matter. The strength that you have, you can shake the entire countries, with this amygdala. So this is the size of your amygdala. Where is it placed? It is placed right behind your nose. Like in the skull, it's very close to the nose. So that is the reason when you are in stress, or when you are, agitated, people tell you take a deep breath. So Kairavi here, before going for a speech, if she takes like 3 to 4 deep breaths. So when you breathe, your amygdala relaxes. So this is the reason for breathing. So now, henceforth, whenever you breathe, when you are in an agitated situation, remember you're calming down your amygdala. 5 centimeter, but needs a lot of oxygen. Now, I'll just share a presentation. So here we see the green part, that is the amygdala. So I call it the root of all evils or angels. Let's start with this brain anatomy. Neurons. So neurons are, we have around 86 billion neurons in our brain. Amygdala and prefrontal cortex. Now what are neurons? Neurons are people or cells, actually cells staying in our brain. We have 86 billion of them. Now, Ruta, if you get some hot gossip, would you want to share it with your friends?
Yes, definitely.
Definitely, right. That will give you lots of joy, enjoyment, whatever, and you want to do it. Similarly, when a brain cell or when a neuron gets some gossip or some information, it wants to pass on to the next cell. So this forms the electricity or the bond between these two cells. So as humans, what connects us is language. For cells, what connects them is electricity. So when it passes on to multiple cells, that means there is more electricity in your brain, there is more activity. So that is an ideal brain, which has lot of activities between the neuron cells. So now let's come to amygdala. So the cell senses a threat. For example, there's a lion coming. So the lion's coming, the cells, they feel that, okay, there is a lion coming, they see through our eyes. And then the cells, they pass the information to amygdala. Now, amygdala is our radar system. Any threat or any danger in our vicinity, it tells us, danger, danger, danger. That is the work of amygdala. So lion aaya, so we lion say, the amygdala will tell our brain that lion is coming, lion is coming. Then this is the first part done. Abhi next kya karna hai? We either run or we either fight with the lion. But who will decide this? This is the prefrontal cortex. So prefrontal cortex is here, okay, this part, and it is way bigger than the amygdala. Now amygdala will call up and say the prefrontal cortex, hey, listen, dude, the lion is here, okay, you need to do something. So then the amygdala puts the phone down and uska kaam khatam. Then the prefrontal cortex will look at the surroundings. Okay, do I have a stick? The monkey wala stick which Shashidhar had. Do I have a stick to shoo away the lion? Is it there? Do I have a gun? Okay, then I don't need to run. I can fight the lion. And then the prefrontal cortex will see that there is nothing around and the only solution is to run. So then it will run. So then the prefrontal cortex will make your brain or make your body ready to run. So these two are the concepts. Now, could you hear what I was saying?
No, you are not audible.
I was not audible. So I was.
Vibha, you are not at all audible.
Huh? Parul, what you said?
Freezes.
Freezing. Okay. So I was acting as the amygdala, and you guys were my prefrontal cortex. So I was telling you run, 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 but you couldn't listen. The reason was there is no connectivity between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. So because there was less connectivity. You could see me visually. If I did like this, then you guys would have understood what I'm telling you to do. Yeah, but so that is limited connectivity between amygdala and prefrontal cortex. Towards the end, did you see my expression? I became angry, right? I was like, run, run. So this is what happens to your amygdala. कि वो फोन कर रहा है और बोल रहा है अरे भाई danger है, danger है, danger है, but the PFC, because there is no connectivity, can't do anything. And over a period of time, your amygdala becomes enlarged. And this causes more problem because you are like always in the danger mode. कि भाई danger है, danger है, danger है. And वो कुछ कर नहीं रहा है, PFC कुछ कर नहीं रहा है. I told the PFC there's danger, there's danger. So that's why it's important to have a healthy connection between your amygdala and prefrontal cortex. Between me and between you. So Zoom is the connection between us. Then the cells are the connection between amygdala and PFC. So this is the importance of having a connection between both of them. Now, how do you make connections? Like, how are connections formed? Every time you learn something new, because naya gossip hai, so the cells are like activated, they are fired up, like, oh, okay, come on, let's, like there's some new news. So it will pass on to the other cells. Every time you learn something new. Every time there is a new experience. You do anything differently. Like for example, when you wake up, you get down, you put your right leg first. The second day, if you put your left leg first, that is also something new. We don't have to do like ekdam out of the box or anything. No. Just if you usually write with your right hand, and one day if you try with your left hand, even that is something new. Like very minor things. Plate ko aise rakhne ke badle aise rakha or something. Just every day you do one new thing. Electricity is passed between the cells, between the neurons, and that's how new bonds are formed. The third one, learning a language. Learning a language, oh, Kato is happy now. Learning a language is definitely a plus point to increase your brain cell activity. So people who speak multiple languages, they have a very active brain, and the connection between amygdala and PFC is strong. I speak 6 languages, so I am a good example of it. And the other would be to sing songs. Like in all religious scriptures also, it is said we should have 8 minutes of songs every day. So it is in the form of bhajan or hymns for Christians or azan for Muslims. So hearing to music every day and actually listening to the lyrics really, is good for the brain, for the brain cell activity. So this is about amygdala and prefrontal cortex. Now I will take a break and let's have some questions from you. And I will explain one question later, but yeah, how much did you understand? Like how much does it make sense? You can unmute, yes please, yeah.
It's quite informative. Just one question. Was there any connection in back way, like PFC contacting amygdala? It's a one-way channel or it's a two-way channel?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's a good question. So yes, as soon as amygdala calls up that, hey dude, there's a danger. So then the PFC will analyze the situation and will tell the amygdala, hey listen, I have it under control, so you can relax, go back to sleep. So it is both the ways. If there is a good connection. If there is not a strong connection, then the PFC also wants to tell, hey, this is in my control, but the amygdala does not get the message and keeps hyperventilating or whatever. Okay, now I want to tell you about a question that Shashidhar. So Shashidhar is my friend, is my mentor, is my coach, is my mentee also. Both of us, we coach each other, okay? So he asked me a question last time. Where he asked me was like, okay, I want to show movies to my clients when they come to me, okay? So what he asked me is like, what if a client comes to you and is not in the frame of mind to watch a movie? Now that day, my amygdala was frozen because it sensed this question as a danger. I don't know the answer of the question. Like I didn't think of it because I thought, everybody wants to watch a movie. But that was a valid question. So that day I didn't have an answer for him. So my amygdala was frozen that day. Then that was a stress situation for me, or that was a danger situation for me. Why? Because there were so many unknown people and I didn't want to show that I don't know the answer. So that was the reason, yeah. So then that day I didn't say anything. Then the next day morning I woke up and I was like, Shashidhar, if they come to me directly, first minute I will not say, na, let's watch movie. If I know they are in a bad mood, I will first talk to them, understand what happened, how their day went. And then I would say, okay, let's watch a movie, or maybe let's not watch a movie. So this happened when I removed myself from the danger situation. If my connection between the PFC and amygdala was not strong or not healthy, that day I would have yelled at, at Shashidhar. That, hey, how can you ask me this question? I would have, my emotions would have, my anger or my fear would have taken over and would have said, no, what is this? You can't ask me a question like this. So this is where the amygdala and the PFC, like this is a live example, that's what happened. So today I was like, I will tell people to ask questions, but it's possible that my amygdala will freeze again today also. But yeah, okay. Let's have other questions if we have. Ruta, does it make sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, I did understand everything, but I do not have a question. But yeah, it makes sense.
It makes sense.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, it makes sense. Why we freeze sometimes, and why do we have anxiety sometimes, and we don't really understand, the reason behind it, or maybe.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
yeah, this could be it.
Can I ask one more question?
I think Kairavi wants to say something and then we'll come to you.
Yes, Kairavi.
No, sir, it's okay. You can go ahead.
Yeah, put your question.
So if you don't have amygdala, we won't have emotions or feelings.
Yes, because that is the birthplace of all emotions. So when you feel happy, when you feel sad, both of them comes from amygdala. And what actually makes you happy or sad is storage of memories. Like getting good grades in exam, which your mother wants. Okay, let's go. Practical example for you. So your mother, in her memory, it shows that when someone got good grades, people around were happy. So then that is passed on to our generations. Like fear, mainly fear is also passed on through parents through generations, because they thought that okay, marrying someone out of your caste would create so much of havoc. So that's why we stick within our community. Okay, bhai, don't do intercaste marriage or don't do intercommunity marriages. So it is a storage of memories which is in amygdala, and then they pass it on to the next generation. So if you don't have amygdala, yes, you wouldn't have emotions. You would be like a robot. Yeah, actually, robots don't have amygdala. They have only PFC, no amygdala. Okay, Shashidhar, you have one more.
Yeah, this new information when you say that this one, like first receipt is PFC or PFC communicates with amygdala, or like how the amygdala gets hijacked or get frozen.
So amygdala has messengers through eyes, nose, visual,
Sensory. It's sensory
all the
awareness.
sensory. Yeah, actually, all the senses. So the senses inform the amygdala. Like बच्चों को हम ऐसे करते हैं. So this is just a visual, but this creates the anger. This creates the fear in their mind. सिर्फ ऐसे करने से वो लोग डर जाते हैं. So this is the visual reception for the amygdala.
Just to improve on Kairavi's questions, I won't think any human being is without amygdala. So there is an amygdala,
yes,
for sure.
Yes.
But probably the connection between amygdala and PFC is at stake. That's where some people, they are programmed not to show the emotions. Or maybe that is not the place where they show the emotions. Amygdala must be there, but the communication between amygdala and PFC may be not in a good strength, what she explained earlier, I think.
Yes, yeah.
No, sir, like I actually asked this question because I have seen, like I watch a lot of dramas, and all those cold guys who look really good and they are like really cold-hearted people, and they don't like, pay attention to others' feeling, and they just keep on hurting. So that's why I asked. Although they look good, but then they keep on hurting others' feelings. So that, yeah.
Maybe that's a part of act.
So not only in dramas, I have quite a few friends who actually don't.
Live characters.
Yeah, live character also we have. Yes, I agree. So those people, they do have the amygdala. But now that is a topic for another session, yeah? Denial. In each session, I get idea for my next session. So denial of emotions and your fear being so strong that you don't want to see other people's pain, and you just like ignore it. Ki bhai haan kuch nahi hai, chalo chalo chalo. That way. So that is a different thing, but all humans do have an amygdala. It is mandatory because amygdala is what saved our ancestors from threats, because they were in forest and they saw lions eating humans. So for that is the very reason that we survived the evolution. Yeah. So good PFC and amygdala connection is what will help you survive the hardships of life. Okay, now let's watch a movie. रूता तूने देखे होंगे सारे मूवी में पिक्सार के मूवी दिखाती हूँ, but still you see it from my eyes.
Yes.
हाँ पर है. Ruta was the one who introduced me to this, not this particular movie, but the Pixar. Like, she's a movie buff. I don't know still if she's that or not, but she used to be like a moviepedia. You ask her about any movie, she will know. And like if I'm out of option, then I'm like, hey Ruta, which movie